Tonight, we stand shield to shield with the Lion of Sparta, marching toward the most famous narrow pass in history, the Life of Leonidas. But first, come in from the dark. Close the heavy door behind you. You are safe here. The outside world cannot touch you. If you wish to always find your way back to this sanctuary when the night is too long, consider subscribing. Now, settle into your chair. The volume we seek is already waiting, heavy, bound in crimson leather and smelling of old iron. Let us open it together. Our story begins. Close your eyes and let the world around you fade into a soft, indistinct blur. Let the noise of the present day unravel, thread by thread, until there is nothing left but the rhythm of your own breathing and the sound of my voice. We are drifting back, far back, letting the currents of time carry us gently upstream to a place where the earth itself dictated the fate of nations. We are going to the hollow land. We are going to the Valley of Silence. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a precipice, the air thin and cold against your skin, smelling of crushed pine needles and the sharp metallic tang of ozone. Before you lies the Valley of Laconia. It is not merely a piece of geography. It is a fortress built by the hands of the gods themselves. To the west, the terrible, magnificent spine of the Taygetus mountain range rises up like a wall of jagged teeth, biting into the azure sky. The stone here is old, unforgiving grey limestone that turns a bruised purple when the sun begins to set. It casts a long, cooling shadow that stretches across the valley floor like a protective arm, or perhaps a possessive claw. Feel the wind that rushes down from those snow-dusted peaks. It creates a low, mournful howl as it passes through the ravines and gorges, a sound that has echoed here for thousands of years. It is a harsh wind, one that strips away the superfluous and leaves only what is necessary. This is the first lesson of this land. Geography as destiny. To live here in the shadow of these giants is to understand that life is hard, that stone is enduring, and that softness is a luxury afforded to others, but not to you. Below, in the cradle of the mountains, flows the river Eurotas. Watch it wind its way through the fertile plain, a ribbon of liquid silver glinting in the midday light. It does not rush with the violent, chaotic energy of a mountain torrent, but flows with a deep, steady purpose. The banks are thick with reeds that rustle softly, whispering secrets to the water. The smell here is richer, heavier. It smells of wet, dark earth, of growing things, of oleander and wild mint crushed underfoot. This river is the lifeblood of the hollow. Without it, the valley would be nothing but dust and rock. It feeds the olive groves that shimmer with a dusty, grey-green haze in the heat, and it waters the fields where the grain grows tall and golden. But even down here, amidst the verdant life, the mountains never let you forget they are there. They loom, they watch. They enclose the world, creating a sense of isolation so profound it feels like a heavy blanket draped over the soul. This isolation is not a prison, it is a crucible. It holds the heat in, it keeps the outside world with its chaotic changes and corrupting luxuries at bay. The people who are born here, who drink from the Eurotas and look up at the Taygetus every morning of their lives, are shaped by this container. They are forged by the pressure of the stone and the nourishment of the river. They become like the land itself, beautiful, severe, and utterly unyielding. Walk with me now. further into the heart of this valley. The ground beneath your sandals changes from the rough, uneven paths of the foothills to beaten earth, packed hard by generations of feet. You might expect, as we approach the centre of power, to see great stone walls rising up to meet us. You might look for heavy timber gates, reinforced with iron, for watchtowers piercing the sky, for the classic fortifications that define cities like Athens or Corinth or Thebes. But look around you, there is nothing. The horizon is unbroken by battlements. There are no moats dug deep into the clay. There is no masonry piled high to separate the city from the fields. The wind blows freely here, unobstructed by the fears of men. This is Sparta. It is a city that defies the very definition of a city. It is not a single dense knot of urban sprawl, but a collection of villages, 4 or 5 of them, loosely gathered like a family sitting around a hearth. The absence of walls is not an oversight. It is not a sign of poverty or a lack of engineering skill. It is a statement. It is a silent scream of arrogance and absolute confidence that reverberates through the quiet air. Breathe in the atmosphere here. It does not smell of fear. It does not smell of stale air trapped behind stone barricades. It smells of open space, of wood smoke drifting from low houses, of sweat and leather oil. There is a famous whisper that travels through history, a quote attributed to the legendary lawgiver Lycurgus, or perhaps one of the kings who sat on the dual throne. When asked why the city had no walls, he pointed not to the horizon, but to the men standing around him. He pointed to their chests. "These," he whispered, "are the walls of Sparta." Let that image sink into your mind. Visualize the wall not as cold, dead stone, but as warm, living flesh. Think of the bronze shields, polished until they shine like mirrors, resting against the heavy, muscular shoulders of the citizens. Feel the heat radiating from their bodies. A stone wall can be breached. Mortar can crumble. Rocks can be pulled down by siege engines. But this wall breathes. This wall thinks. This wall moves with a singular, terrifying purpose. The safety of this place does not come from separation. It comes from presence. The citizens sleep soundly. At night, not because a gate is locked, but because they know that every man around them is a brick in that living fortification. It creates a psychological atmosphere that is unique in the ancient world. In other cities, safety is a place you go to. You run inside the walls. Here, safety is something you carry within you. You are the safety. Walk through these unwalled streets. Listen to the sounds of daily life. It is quieter here than in the bustling markets of Athens. The conversations are low, brief, efficient. There is no shouting of merchants, no chaotic babble of debate. The only loud sounds are the rhythmic clanging of bronze against bronze from the training grounds, the thud of bodies hitting the dust, and the sharp, distinct commands of the instructors. These sounds drift through the open city like the ringing of a temple bell, a constant reminder of the price of their security. It creates a sense of vulnerability to the outsider's eye. To walk into a city with no gates feels unnatural, exposed. You feel as though you are naked under the open sky, but to the Spartan this exposure is essential. To hide behind a wall would be to admit that there is something to fear. And fear is a weed that cannot be allowed to take root in this valley. By refusing to build walls, they declare to the world, and more importantly to themselves, that they have nothing to fear from any man, beast, or god. The open perimeter is a challenge issued to the universe every single sunrise. As the sun begins to dip below the sharp peaks of the Taygetus, the light in the valley changes. The harsh, bright white of the Greek afternoon softens into a bruised purple, and then a deep, velvety indigo. The shadows lengthen, stretching out from the mountains like long, dark fingers reclaiming the land. The temperature drops rapidly. You can feel the chill settling on your skin, a crisp coolness that rises from the river and the damp earth. The city quiets down. There are no rowdy taverns. Here, no late-night symposiums filled with drunken philosophy and loud music. The rhythm of life is dictated by the sun. As the light fades, the people retreat to their simple homes. The fires are banked. The silence of the valley reclaims the space where human voices once were. Look up. The sky over Laconia is a vast, bottomless ocean of ink. Without the light pollution of the modern world, without even the torches of a great walled citadel to dim the view, the heavens are revealed in a glory that we can scarcely imagine today. The stars are not just pinpricks of light, they are blazing diamonds, heavy and bright, hanging so low it feels as though you could reach up and brush them with your fingertips. See the Milky Way, a river of crushed pearl spilled across the darkness, mirroring the flow of the Eurotas below. The air is so clear, so still, that the stars seem to not verify twinkle, but burn with a steady, unblinking gaze. For the people standing in the dark below, these are not merely balls of gas burning in the void. They are maps. They are history books written in light. They are the resting places of their ancestors. The Spartans believed themselves to be the Heraclidae, the descendants of Heracles himself. They believe that the blood of the hero, the blood of the son of Zeus, flows in their veins. Trace the constellations with your eyes. See the great hunter Orion striding across the winter sky. See the distinct cluster of the Pleiades, but look specifically for the shape of the lion, the Nemean beast that Heracles wrestled and choked with his bare hands. When a Spartan king looks up at that constellation, he does not see a monster. He sees his forefathers' triumph. He sees the mandate of his bloodline. The connection between the earth and the sky is palpable here in the dark. The mountains of the Taygetus are now just silhouettes blacker than black, cutting off the bottom of the starfield. They look like the shoulders of giants holding up the dome of the heavens. In this silence, broken only by the hoot of a Scops owl or the distant bark of a fox, the past feels incredibly close. There is a weight to this lineage. To look at the stars is to be reminded that you are small, yes, but also that you are part of something eternal. The stars guided the Heraclidae back to this valley, back to their rightful home after generations of exile. They navigated by these same lights. They marched under this same vast canopy. The night sky serves as a moral compass as much as a navigational one. It demands excellence. How can you be petty? How can you be cowardly? How can you be weak when the eyes of the gods and the heroes of old are burning down upon you from the obsidian dark? The silence of the night is not empty. It is expectant. It waits for you to prove yourself worthy of the land you stand on and the stars you sleep under. Feel the dampness of the dew beginning to form on the grass around your ankles. The smell of the night is different than the day. It smells of cooling stone and distant wood smoke. The valley breathes in. The valley breathes out. It is a slow, hypnotic rhythm that matches the beating of your own heart. Here, in the Valley of Silence, protected by the jagged teeth of the mountains and the living wall of chests. Under the watchful gaze of the constellations, the world feels stable. It feels ordered. It feels inevitable. This is the cradle of the warrior, a place where the land, the city, and the sky all conspire to create a single, unbreakable will. Rest in this silence for a moment. Let the peace of the hollow land wash over you. There are no walls here, and yet you have never been more safe. The air inside the royal house of the Agiads is still. It is a stillness that feels heavy, like a woolen blanket soaked in rain. You might expect a palace to hum with the frantic energy of servants, the whispering of courtiers, or the rustle of silk against marble. You might imagine the glint of gold leaf catching the light of 1,000 candles, or the sweet, cloying scent of imported perfumes, masking the smell of the everyday. But sweep those images from your mind. That is the way of the Persians. That is the way of the soft cities in the east. Here, in the house of the kings of Sparta, there is only the scent of old, dry timber and the faint metallic tang of iron. Step into the birthing chamber. The floor beneath your feet is not a polished mosaic, cool and slippery. It is beaten earth, packed down so hard over the years that it feels like stone, covered here and there with rough reed mats that scratch against the skin. The walls are simple plaster, unadorned by frescoes or tapestries. There are no paintings of gods feasting on clouds. The only decoration is the play of shadows cast by a single oil lamp flickering in the corner. The flame dances, painting long, wavering shapes on the walls that look like spear shafts or the trunks of cypress trees. The furniture is sparse. A bed frame of dark, heavy oak, a chest for linens, a simple chair. It is a room that speaks of utility, not comfort. It is a room that says that even a king is merely a man, and his house is merely a shelter from the elements, not a monument to his ego. The austerity is striking. It forces your attention to the center of the room, to the only thing that matters at this moment. There is a silence here that commands respect. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of holding one's breath. In the shadows, a woman rests. In her arms, wrapped in plain, undyed wool, lies a new life, a boy. He is small, as all newborns are, a fragile bundle of potential warmth in a room that feels perpetually cool. There is no golden rattle in his hand. There is no jeweled amulet pinned to his swaddling clothes to ward off evil spirits. His protection will not come from trinkets. It will come from his own blood and bone. This is the house of the Agiads, one of the two royal families, who trace their lineage back to Heracles. But looking at the rough beams of the ceiling and the simple clay cup resting on the table, you realize that royalty here is not defined by what you own. It is defined by what you can endure. The lack of gold is a deliberate choice. It is a silent teacher, whispering to the child from his very first breath that value is not found in yellow metal, but in iron will. Now, watch as the scene shifts. The door opens. It creaks on heavy iron hinges, a sound that echoes sharply in the quiet room. It is time. The father takes the child. His hands are large, the skin roughened by years of gripping a spear and a shield. His touch is gentle, but it is not tentative. He holds the infant not as a father holds a son, but as a steward holds a treasure that belongs to someone else. For in this valley, a child does not belong to his parents. He belongs to the city. Follow them now. We are leaving the dim sanctuary of the royal house and stepping out into the blinding brightness of the Spartan day. The sun is high, bleaching the colours of the world until everything is white and grey and dusty green. The heat hits you like a physical weight pressing down on your shoulders. They walk to the Lesh, a place of gathering, a place of judgment. It is an open colonnade shaded from the worst of the sun, where the elders of the tribe sit. These are the men who have survived. Look at their faces. They are maps of the city's history. Their skin is leathery and deeply lined, tanned to the colour of walnut by a lifetime of campaigning under the open sky. Their beards are long and grey, coarse like the wool of mountain sheep. They sit on simple stone benches, their staffs of olive wood resting against their knees. They do not rise when the king approaches. Here, in this circle, age and wisdom outrank even the crown. The father presents the child. He lays the infant Leonidas down on a shield, or perhaps a flat, smooth table of polished wood. The wool is pulled back. The baby is naked, exposed to the air, exposed to the scrutiny of the state. The elders lean forward, listen to the rustle of their robes, listen to the sound of their slow, wheezing breath. They do not smile. There is no softness in their eyes. They are not looking for his mother's nose or his father's chin. They do not care if he is beautiful. Beauty is a fleeting thing, a flower that withers in the drought. They are looking for something else. Hands reach out, fingers that are twisted with arthritis yet still strong, prod and palpate the small body. They touch the joints of the knees, feeling for the sturdy alignment of bone that will one day need to support the weight of full panoply. They press gently on the chest, feeling the rhythm of the heart, listening to the intake of breath. Is it shallow? Is it wheezy? Or is it deep and strong, filling the lungs with the confident greed of a survivor? They look at the shape of the skull. They look at the straightness of the spine. They are like master craftsmen inspecting a piece of raw timber before deciding whether to use it for the keel of a ship or to cast it into the fire. It feels cold, this clinical assessment of a human life. It feels cruel to our modern sensibilities, but try to understand the fear that drives them. They live in a valley without walls. Every man must be a stone in the fortification. A weak stone causes the wall to collapse. To accept a frail child is to endanger the entire tribe. The baby squirms under their rough touch. He makes a small, mewling sound. One of the elders, a man with a scar running through his white eyebrow, watches the infant's eyes. He is looking for a spark. He is looking for the spirit. Does the child shrink away from the touch, or does he push back? The verdict is silent. A nod, a grunt of approval. The thumb is turned up. The child is agathos. He is good. He is fit. He is permitted to live. The tension in the air, which you hadn't realized was there, suddenly dissipates like mist in the morning sun. The father wraps the child back in the wool, but the test is not over. The inspection of the bone is finished, but the testing of the blood is just beginning. They return to the house, but not to the warm embrace of the cradle. We are going to the courtyard now, where a large earthenware jar stands waiting. It is a pythos, a storage jar, usually used for oil or grain. But today it holds something else. Smell it before you see it. The scent is overpowering. It is thick, sweet, and acrid. It smells of fermentation, of dark fruit crushed under heavy feet, of the rich volcanic earth of the hillside vineyards. It is wine. Not the watered-down wine that men drink at dinner, diluted to be civilized and refreshing. This is undiluted, raw, potent wine. It is purple, almost black, swirling in the bottom of the jar. In the rest of Greece, they bathe their newborns in warm water, sometimes mixed with a little oil to make the skin soft. They pamper the child, easing the transition from the womb to the world. But Sparta does not want soft children. Sparta wants steel. The mother stands by the jar. This is her domain. Her face is impassive, a mask of calm discipline, but watch her hands. They are steady. She unwraps the infant Leonidas once more. The air in the courtyard is cooler now, the shadows lengthening. The baby's skin is pink and warm. Without hesitation, she lifts him. She does not lower him gently, inch by inch. She plunges him into the wine. Imagine the sensation. The liquid is not warm. It is cool, perhaps even cold, stored in the clay jar in the cellar. The shock of it against the warm, sensitive skin of a newborn must be electrifying. And then the sting. The alcohol in the wine is strong. If there is any scratch, any chafing from the wool, it burns. The fumes rise up, enveloping the child in a cloud of intoxicating vapor. It is a sensory assault. The smell of the grapes is so strong it tastes like iron in the back of the throat. The Spartans believe that this bath is the ultimate test of constitution. They believe that a child who is epileptic or sickly will convulse and fade when touched by the potent wine. They believe the shock is too great for a weak system to handle. But the strong will temper like steel dipped in oil. Listen to the sound. There is a splash, followed by a moment of absolute silence as the baby draws in a breath. And then a cry. It is not a weak, pitiful wail. It is a roar of outrage. It is a scream of life asserting itself against the elements. The baby kicks, his small legs churning the dark purple liquid, turning it into pink foam. His skin turns a deep, ruddy red, flushing with the heat of his reaction. He does not faint. He does not go limp. He fights the wine. The mother holds him firm, her hand supporting his head, washing the liquid over his small chest, over his shoulders. She is baptizing him not in the gentle waters of a river, but in the blood of the earth. She is washing away the softness of the womb and replacing it with the hard, intoxicating reality of the world he will inherit. When she lifts him out, he is dripping with the dark fluid. He smells of a vineyard at harvest time. He smells of power. The cool air hits his wet skin, and he shivers, his body working instantly to generate heat, to survive the cold. This is the first lesson of his life, learned before he can even focus his eyes. The world is cold. The world is harsh. It will shock you. It will sting you. But you will not break. She wraps him quickly in a rough woolen cloth, rubbing his skin vigorously until it glows. The friction warms him. The crying subsides into a low, rhythmic whimpering, and then into silence. He is exhausted, but he is alive. He has passed the inspection of the elders, and he has survived the trial of the wine. He lies in his wooden cradle now, the scent of the wine still lingering faintly on his skin, mixing with the smell of the straw mattress. The shadows of the room close in around him, protective and dark. He sleeps the sleep of the victorious. He does not know it yet, but the forging has begun. The iron has been pulled from the earth, heated in the fire of inspection, and quenched in the wine of the vine. Leonidas, son of the lion, has survived his first battle, and the Valley of Silence watches over him, waiting for the man he will become. The sun has not yet risen over the jagged spine of the Taygetus mountains. The valley is held in a suspension of grey twilight, a hush that feels brittle, like a dry leaf ready to crumble. In the house of the Agiads, and in the humble dwellings of the peers across the 4 villages of Sparta, a quiet shifting is taking place. Imagine a boy. He has seen only 7 winters. His skin is still soft, untouched by the scar tissue of war. His knees are knobby and unscarred, his hair tousled from sleep. For 7 years he has lived in the sphere of women. He has slept in the warmth of the gyneceum, surrounded by the scent of wool and milk and the soft murmuring voices of nurses and mothers. He has played in the dust of the courtyard, chasing imaginary beasts with sticks. But today the door to that world closes, and it locks. Watch him stand by the entrance of his home. He wears only a single garment, a rough woolen chiton that itches against his neck. He carries nothing, no toys, no keepsakes, no blanket to remind him of his bed. He is barefoot. The stone of the threshold is cold under his small soles, leaching the warmth from his body, grounding him in the hard reality of the earth. His mother stands before him. In any other city, in Athens or Corinth, there would be wailing. There would be clutching of hands, tearful embraces, the rending of clothes. Mothers would beg the gods for protection. But this is Laconia. Here, emotion is a private luxury, and today is a public act. Look at her face. It is a mask of calm, carved from the same limestone as the mountains. Her eyes are dry. She does not kneel to hug him. She stands tall, forcing him to crane his neck to look up at her. She is not rejecting him. She is preparing him. To weep now would be to plant a seed of weakness in his heart. To cling to him would be to tell him that the world outside is something to be feared, something to run from. She reaches out one hand. She does not caress his cheek. She adjusts the clasp of his tunic on his shoulder. It is a sharp, efficient movement, a tug, a straightening. Come back with your shield, or on it, she will say to him one day, years from now. But today the message is silent. It is in the set of her jaw. It is in the way she steps back, creating a distance between them that will never fully close again. She is handing him over to the state. She is giving her flesh and blood to the wolf pack. The boy does not cry. He has learned his lessons well. He swallows the lump in his throat, that hard stone of grief that threatens to choke him. He presses his lips together until they're a thin white line. He nods once, a short, sharp jerk of the head. It is the first salute of a soldier. He turns his back on the warmth of the house. He steps out into the grey dawn, his feet making no sound on the dusty road. He does not look back. To look back is to long for the past, and a Spartan lives only for the moment of the fight. He walks toward the gathering place, a small solitary figure moving through the mist, walking away from his childhood and into the legend. The path leads him not to a schoolroom with scrolls and tablets, but to the banks of the river Eurotas. The sun is higher now, but it offers little warmth. The wind is picking up, rustling the great beds of reeds that grow thick along the muddy shoreline. This is his first classroom. This is his first test. The agoge, the rearing, does not provide beds for its initiates. There are no soft mattresses stuffed with feathers waiting in the barracks. There is only the floor. If the boy wishes to sleep, he must build his own rest. He must harvest it from the river. Walk with him down to the water's edge. The mud is slick and cold, oozing up between his toes. It smells of decaying vegetation, of wet earth, of the deep, slow-moving life of the river. The air here is damp and heavy. He steps into the water. It is freezing. The Eurotas is fed by the snowmelt of the mountains, and even in the milder seasons, it carries the bite of the peaks. The cold seizes his ankles, a sharp, aching pain that shoots up his calves. He gasps, a small puff of white mist escaping his lips, but he does not step back. He wades deeper until the water swirls around his knees, numbing the skin, turning it a pale, translucent blue. He stands amidst the reeds. They tower over him, 7, 8 feet tall, a forest of green and brown stalks swaying in the breeze. They make a sound like 1,000 people whispering, a dry, rasping shh that fills his ears. He reaches out. His hand is small, his fingers short. He grips a stalk. It is hard and smooth like polished bone. He has been given no knife, no sickle, no tool to aid him. He must use only what he was born with. He pulls. The reed resists. It is tough, fibrous, rooted deep in the riverbed. He twists it. The edges of the reed are sharp, razor-thin silicates that can slice through skin in an instant. He feels the bite of the plant. A thin line of red appears on his palm, bright against the dirt. The salt of his blood mixes with the fresh water of the river. He does not stop to suck the wound. He grits his teeth and snaps the reed. Crack! The sound is loud in the quiet morning. He does it again and again. Crack, crack, crack. Focus on the sensory rhythm of the work, the bending of the stalk. The tension builds until the fibers give way. The splash as he tosses it onto the muddy bank. The numbness in his legs is spreading, turning his feet into heavy blocks of wood, but his hands are burning with the friction and the cuts. He is gathering lycophon, a specific type of sharp reed. It is said that in the winter the boys must mix another plant, a sticky weed called helichrysum, into the bedding to generate heat. But for now, it is just the reeds. He is building a nest. He is an animal learning to survive in the wild. The pile on the bank grows. It is a mound of green and gold. His arms ache. His back is stiff. But he looks at the other boys around him. They are all doing the same. They are all shivering. They are all bleeding. And in that shared suffering, in that shared task, the first threads of a bond are being woven. They are not speaking to each other. They do not need to. The sound of the snapping reeds is their conversation. It says, I am here. I am enduring. I am still standing. Night falls over the valley of Laconia. The great shadow of the Taygetus blots out the sun, and the temperature plummets. We move now to the barracks, the Syssitia hall where the boys will live. It is a long, low building, simple and unadorned. Inside it is dark. There are no lamps burning here. Oil is precious, and darkness is a friend to the warrior. The only light comes from the embers of the central hearth, glowing like a dying eye in the centre of the room. The air is thick. It smells of the river reeds, a fresh green scent that slowly turns to the smell of drying hay. It smells of unwashed bodies, of sweat, of damp wool, and the earthy odour of the floor. It is a primal smell, the scent of a den. The boy takes his bundle of reeds. He lays them out on the hard ground, arranging them carefully. He knows that if he leaves a gap, the cold of the earth will seep through and steal his warmth. He weaves the stalks together, creating a thin, rough mattress. It is not soft. The knots of the reeds dig into his ribs. The sharp edges poke through his tunic, but compared to the bare stone, it is a luxury. He lies down. He is exhausted. His body hums with the fatigue of the day, his hands throbbing where the reeds cut him. But he is not alone. Listen to the room. It is filled with the sound of breathing. Dozens of boys packed tight together for warmth. They lie shoulder to shoulder, back to front, a tangle of limbs. The concept of personal space has vanished. There is no mine here. There is no private corner. The boy feels the warmth of another body pressed against his back. He feels the slow, rhythmic rise and fall of a chest against his shoulder. He does not know the name of the boy next to him. It does not matter. The heat is shared. The survival is shared. In the darkness, the individual begins to dissolve. Lying there, staring up at the invisible ceiling, he is no longer just the son of his mother. He is a limb of a larger creature. He is a finger on a hand that is slowly clenching into a fist. The breathing of the room synchronizes. It becomes a slow, oceanic tide. In, out, in, out. It is a hypnotic sound, more comforting than any lullaby. It is the sound of the pack sleeping. He closes his eyes. The image of the house he left this morning feels distant, like a dream from a former life. The silence of his mother, the cold of the river, the sharp snap of the reeds, these are his reality now. He burrows deeper into the scratchy straw, borrowing warmth from the stranger beside him. He is hungry, he is sore, he is cold, but as he drifts into the black waters of sleep, he feels a strange new sensation settling in his chest. It is not fear, it belongs. He is part of the wall now. He is one of the stones, and tomorrow the grinding will begin again. The valley wakes not with the sun, but with the fog. Before the first grey light of dawn has even hinted at the horizon, the Eurotas river breathes out. It exhales a thick, heavy vapour that rolls across the lowlands, swallowing the olive trees, swallowing the houses, swallowing the world. It is a milk-white ocean that erases all landmarks. In this hour, Sparta does not exist as a place. Of stone and wood, it exists only as a sound. Listen. From the damp, cold earth of the training grounds a rhythm emerges. It is the sound of feet, hundreds of bare feet striking the packed dirt in perfect unison. Thud, thud, thud. There is no talking. There is no shouting. There is only the collective breath of the agili, the herds of boys moving as one organism through the blindness of the mist. Imagine standing there in that white void. You cannot see the boy 10 paces to your left. You cannot see the mountains that loom above. You can only see the back of the comrade directly in front of you, a pale shape moving through the gloom. You must trust the rhythm. You must surrender your own cadence to the pulse of the group. This is the morning ritual. It is not merely exercise, it is the annihilation of the self. As they run, knees lifting high, arms pumping in sync, the individual ego is dissolved into the sweat and the mist. If one boy stumbles, the rhythm breaks. The sound falters. The snake of runners recoils. So no one stumbles. They learn to feel the movement of the group before it happens, a sensory connection that goes beyond sight or hearing. They become a hive mind, bound together by the damp air and the burning in their lungs. The instructor, the Iron, walks alongside them. He is a shadow in the fog, carrying a staff of hawthorn wood. He does not need to bark orders. He simply claps his hands, a sharp, cracking sound that cuts through the heavy air like a whip. Clap, turn left, clap, halt, clap, drop to the earth. The synchronization is terrifying in its precision. Watch them stop instantly, hundreds of bodies freezing into statues. Their chests heave, steam rising from their warm skin to join the fog, but they do not fidget. They do not wipe the sweat from their eyes. They wait. In this silence, they are learning the most vital lesson of the phalanx. In the chaos of battle, when the dust blinds you and the roar of blood fills your ears, you cannot rely on your eyes. You must rely on the man next to you. You must move when he moves. You must lock your shield with his, not because you see the enemy, but because you feel the rhythm of the line. As the sun finally burns through the mist, revealing the sharp, glistening peaks of the Taygetus, the physical grinding shifts to a different kind of discipline. The sweat dries on their skin, leaving a salty crust that itches in the heat. They move to the shade of the colonnades, sitting on the stone benches or the hard ground. It is a common misconception that the Spartan is a brute, a mindless machine of muscle and violence. The world imagines them as illiterate killers. But this is a lie. The Spartan must be sharp of mind as well as body. A dull mind cannot hold a formation. A dull mind cannot understand the complex geometry of war. And so they learn the music. Watch a young boy take up the instrument. It is the Aulos, a double pipe made of reed or bone. It is not a gentle instrument. It does not produce the soft, plucking tranquility of the lyre that the Athenians love so well. The Aulos has a nasal, piercing quality. It drones. It buzzes like a nest of angry wasps. It is a sound that gets inside the rib cage and vibrates against the sternum. The boy places the reeds in his mouth. He blows, his cheeks puffing out. His fingers dance over the holes. He is learning war songs. He is learning the hymns of the Castor and Pollux, the divine twins who protect the army. Music in Sparta is not for entertainment. It is not for leisure or the wooing of lovers. It is a tool of statecraft. It is the metronome of death. When the phalanx marches, it does not march to the chaotic screaming of a mob. It marches to the high, shrill keening of the flute. The music keeps the pace. The music calms the heart. It induces a trance state, a hypnosis that suppresses fear and replaces it with a steady, driving pulse. Listen to them recite the verses. They are not reading from soft scrolls of philosophy. They are chanting the elegies of Taygetus. The poetry is rhythmic, written in the marching cadence of the anapest. Da-da-dum, da-da-dum. It is a beautiful thing when a good man dies, they chant in unison, their young voices blending into a single sombre tone, falling among the front ranks while fighting for his fatherland. They memorize these lines until they are etched into the grey matter of their brains. They repeat them until the words lose their individual meaning and become pure feeling. They are programming themselves. They are installing a code of conduct that will override the biological instinct to run away when the spears come close. The poetry tells them that they are not individuals with a future to plan. They are links in an eternal chain. The music binds them to the ancestors who marched to this same drone, and to the descendants who will one day take their place. Under the shade of the plane trees, the air is filled with this strange, hypnotic culture. It is a school where the curriculum is sacrificed. The beauty of the flute and the beauty of the verse are appreciated only insofar as they serve the city. A Spartan knows the difference between a high note and a low note, not to appreciate the art, but to know when to charge and when to hold. Now, lower your gaze. Look down at the ground. Look at the feet of the boys. They are bare. From the moment they enter the agoge, the sandal is forbidden. It is a luxury, and luxury is a weakness. A shoe protects the foot, yes, but it also separates the man from the world. It softens him. It makes him clumsy. We are leaving the smooth dust of the training ground now and heading up into the foothills. The terrain here is unforgiving. It is limestone, ancient and weathered, eroded by wind and rain into sharp, jagged ridges. It is covered in scree, loose pebbles that shift and slide under weight. It is dotted with thorns, with thistle, with the hard, woody stems of wild thyme. Watch the boys run. They do not pick their way carefully like goats. They drive forward. At first, for the 7-year-old, this is a torture. Every step is a potential injury. The sharp stones slice into the soft soles of feet that have known only the smooth floors of the nursery. There is blood. You can track the path of the aguli by the red droplets left on the grey rocks. There are bruising, deep purple contusions that make it agony to walk the next day. But the boy does not stop. He cannot stop. To stop is to be left behind. And to be left behind is a social death more painful than any physical wound. Over time, a transformation occurs. The human body is a miraculous thing, adaptable and stubborn. The skin of the soul begins to change. It thickens. Layer upon layer of dead skin builds up, forming a shield of callus that is tougher than leather. The nerves retreat deeper into the flesh, protected by this organic armor. The foot widens. The toes splay out, gripping the earth like the claws of a wolf. The arch strengthens, becoming a powerful spring. This is the process of grounding. It is literal and metaphorical. A Spartan does not walk on the earth. He connects with it. He feels the texture of his country in every step. He knows the difference between the cool, damp clay of the riverbank and the scorching, sun-baked slate of the hillside by the sensation on his skin. When he runs now, he creates a sound that is different from the heavy, clomping tread of a shod man. It is a slap, a dull, quiet impact. He learns to place his weight so that the stones do not cut, but support. He learns to flow over the obstacles. Imagine the sensory detail of this contact. It is high noon. The rocks are hot enough to cook an egg. A normal man would be hopping, blistering his feet. The Spartan boy stands firm. He feels the heat rising up through his heels, warming his blood, but he does not burn. He has become part of the landscape. This hardening serves a dark purpose. In war, a strap can break, a sole can wear through, a sandal can get stuck in the mud, but a foot of callus and bone, it never fails. It provides traction on the blood-slicked grass of a battlefield. It allows for silence during a night raid. By the time he is 12, the boy can run at full speed over a bed of river stones and feel nothing but the solid reassurance of the ground meeting him. He has no need for dead cowskin to protect him. He carries his armor on his own body. This is the rhythm of discipline. It is the thud of the morning run in the fog. It is the drone of the Aulos regulating the heartbeat. It is the silent, tough slap of a calloused foot against the mountain. It is a process of stripping away the artificial and revealing the indestructible core beneath. The boy is being hollowed out, emptied of his softness, and filled with the stone and the song of Sparta. The sun is a memory. The golden light that bathed the valley has been swallowed by the western peaks, leaving, behind a world painted in shades of charcoal, indigo, and deep, impenetrable black. The air has changed texture. It is no longer the dry, dusty air of the training ground. It is cool, damp, and thick with the scent of pine resin and wet decay. We are entering the domain of the cryptire. This is the secret thing. This is the hidden trial. For the older boys, those who have survived the reeds and the lash, the training shifts from the brutal noise of the phalanx to the terrifying silence of the hunt. They are sent out into the wilds of the Taygetus with nothing. No shield to hide behind, no spear to keep the enemy at bay. They have only a dagger, small and curved, and a cloak that is too thin to ward off the mountain chill. Imagine the forest floor. It is a minefield of sound. Every dry twig is a betrayal waiting to happen. Every pile of autumn leaves is a trap that could announce your presence to the world. The boy moving through this darkness must cease to be a solid object. He must become a vapor. He must become the space between the trees. Watch him move. He does not step. He flows. He places the ball of his foot down first, testing the ground, feeling for the snap of wood or the crunch of gravel through the thick callus of his sole. Only when he is certain does he lower his heel. It is a movement so slow it is agonizing. It requires a muscular control more demanding than lifting a heavy stone. To hold a limb suspended in the air, trembling with fatigue, waiting for the wind to rustle the branches so that his movement is masked by the natural chaotic noise of the forest. This is the discipline of the shadow. He breathes through an open mouth to silence the rush of air in his nose. He widens his eyes, not to focus on a single point, but to take in the periphery, to catch the slightest movement of a shadow that is darker than the rest. The forest is alive around him. He can hear the scuttling of a beetle over a root. He can hear the soft, rhythmic hooting of an owl. He can smell the musk of a badger passing nearby. He is not the hunter yet. He is a ghost. The goal is not merely to survive, it is to remain unseen. If a farmer spots him, if a traveller sees his silhouette against the moon, he has failed. To be seen is to die a social death. In the daylight, a Spartan stands shoulder to shoulder, announcing his presence with the banging of bronze. But in the cryptire, he learns the terrifying power of absence. He learns that the thing you cannot see is far more dangerous than the thing you can. The darkness presses against his skin like a physical weight. The isolation is absolute. There is no brother to whisper courage to him. There is no officer to give a command. He is the commander of his own fear. He must suppress the primal instinct to run, to light a fire, to scream. He must wrap the darkness around himself like a second skin and wear it comfortably. As the elevation climbs, the trees begin to thin. The pine and oak give way to scrub, brush and bare, wind-scoured rock. We are following the path of a young Leonidas now, up into the higher reaches of the mountain. He has been out for days. His stomach is a hollow, aching void. His lips are cracked from the dry, biting wind. He finds a shelter in the lee of a limestone outcrop, a small depression in the earth shielded from the worst of the gale. He curls his body tight to preserve heat, pulling his rough cloak over his head. But he does not sleep. The mountain demands his attention. Below him, in a ravine shadowed by the moon, movement catches his eye. It is a pack of wolves. They are grey, ghostly shapes moving over the snow-dusted rocks. The wind carries their scent to him, a pungent mix of wet fur, raw meat, and wildness. He watches them. He does not reach for his dagger. He freezes, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped bird, but his body remains stone still. He observes. This is his classroom now. Watch how they move. They are not a chaotic mob. There is an order here, a hierarchy as rigid as any in Sparta. The alpha moves with a confident, easy gait, tail held high. The others flank him, their movements synchronized, their ears swiveling like radar dishes. They do not fight each other. They flow over the terrain as a single liquid entity. Leonidas watches them hunt. They isolate a straggler, a deer that has wandered too far from the safety of the herd. They do not attack with mindless rage. They communicate with subtle shifts of body weight, with low growls that vibrate in the chest. One moves left to flank, another drops back to cut off the retreat. They work the problem together. The boy realizes, shivering in his rocky crevice, that the wolf pack is the phalanx of nature. They are strong not because of their individual teeth, but because of their unity. A lone wolf is a dead wolf. A lone wolf starves or falls to a larger predator. But the pack is invincible. He sees the cruelty of the mountain too. He sees the wolves leave behind a member of the pack that has been injured, limping in the snow. They do not pause. They do not mourn. The survival of the group outweighs the life of the individual. It is a harsh lesson, written in blood on the white snow, but it resonates with everything he has been taught since birth. The mountain does not forgive weakness. Nature does not offer mercy. It offers only two choices: be strong or be eaten. The wind howls through the crags, a mournful, high-pitched scream that sounds like the voices of the dead. Leonidas closes his eyes, listening to the song of the high altitude. He is cold, colder than he has ever been. His fingers are numb, useless claws, but inside a fire is being kindled. It is the fire of endurance. He is learning that pain is just information. It is the body telling him the temperature, the texture of the ground, the state of his flesh. He acknowledges the pain, and then he sets it aside. He exists in the space beyond discomfort. Days. Later, or perhaps it is weeks. Time loses its meaning in the solitude of the wild. He begins the descent. The trial is over. He has not been seen. He has not died. He has become a part of the mountain's shadow, and now he returns to the world of men. The transition is sensory. The air grows warmer, heavier, richer with oxygen as he drops in elevation. The smell of the pine returns, and then, cutting through the clean scent of the forest, comes a new smell. Smoke. Not the acrid smoke of a wildfire, but the sweet, domesticated smell of burning olive wood. It is the scent of the barracks. He walks out of the darkness and into the circle of light cast by the communal fire. The transition is jarring. His eyes, adjusted to the monochrome of the moonlit wilderness, sting in the warm orange glow. The heat hits him like a physical blow, a wave of thermal bliss that makes his skin prickle and his frozen blood begin to flow painfully back into his extremities. He is not the only one. Returning. Other boys, shadows like himself, are emerging from the night. They look ragged. Their tunics are torn. Their legs are scratched and bleeding from the thorns. Their faces are gaunt, eyes hollowed out by hunger and vigilance. They gather around the fire. They do not hug. They do not cheer. They simply nod. It is a silent acknowledgement of the shared hell. You were out there. You saw the dark. You are back. They sit on the rough logs or the dirt, extending their hands toward the flames. Watch the steam rise from their damp cloaks. Watch the colour slowly return to their pale cheeks. The fire is the heart of the Syssitia. It is the centre of their universe. It is the only warmth they are allowed, and it is sweeter for the cold they have endured. And then the food is brought out. It is not a feast fit for a Persian king. There are no roasted peacocks or honeyed cakes. A large iron cauldron is set over the coals. The ladle dips in and brings up a dark, viscous liquid. This is the melasomos, the black broth. It is a soup made of boiled pork, salt, vinegar, and blood. To a stranger, it is repulsive. It smells metallic, sharp with vinegar, and heavy with the iron scent of blood. It is a dark, murky sludge. A visitor from Sybaris once tasted it, and famously whispered that now he understood why the Spartans were so willing to die, for death was preferable to eating such filth. But to Leonidas, shivering by the fire, this is the nectar of the gods. He takes the wooden bowl. The heat radiates through the wood into his palms, thawing his frozen fingers. He lifts it to his lips. The taste is intense, sour, salty, rich. It coats his tongue. It slides down his throat like molten lead, settling in his empty stomach with a heavy, satisfying weight. The vinegar cuts the fat. The blood restores the iron he has lost to the mountain. It is fuel. It is pure, efficient energy designed to build muscle and bone. As he eats, he looks around the circle. The firelight dances. In the eyes of his brothers, they are eating with the same voracious, silent intensity. The solitude of the mountain is gone. The loneliness that pressed on his chest is lifted. He is part of the pack again. He realizes that the warmth he feels is not just from the burning logs. It comes from the presence of the others. It comes from the knowledge that every boy sitting here has faced the same terror, the same cold, the same wolves, and has walked back out of the shadows. They are bound together not by blood, but by the shared experience of survival. He scrapes the last drop of the black broth from his bowl. He wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. He leans back, the fire crackling and popping, sending sparks drifting up toward the stars he watched from the mountain top. He is tired, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion, but he is content. The shadows of Taygetus are still out there, waiting in the dark. But here, in the circle of the fire, the iron has been tempered. The boy who went up, the mountain is gone. The young wolf has returned. The wild, lonely wind of the mountains has been left behind. The boy who shivered in the snow and watched the wolves with envious eyes is gone. In his place stands a man. He is 20 years old. His shoulders are broad. His skin is weathered to the colour of oiled walnut, and his hands are thick with the calluses of the spear shaft. The solitude of the wilderness is over. Now begins the era of the collective. We stand before the heavy wooden doors of the Syssitia. This is the common mess hall. This is the beating heart of adult Spartan life. To enter here is not a right. It is a privilege that must be won. It is the final, terrifying threshold between being a youth and being a peer, a homoios. The air in the antechamber is stagnant and warm. It smells of sawdust and anxiety. The candidate stands alone, stripped of his weapons, stripped of his family name. He waits while the men inside decide his fate. This is not a decision made by a king or a magistrate. It is a decision made by the brothers with whom he wishes to break bread. If they do not want him, he is nothing. A man without a mess hall in Sparta is a ghost. He has no social standing. He has no citizenship. He is an outcast in his own city. Inside the hall the ritual is beginning. It is a silent, solemn proceeding. There is no debate. There are no speeches made in his favour or against him. The judgment is tactile. Watch the servant moving around the long wooden tables. He carries a wide, shallow bowl known as a kardos, balanced on his head. This is done so that he cannot see the hands of the voters. He is a blind vessel of fate. The men at the tables sit in relaxed poses, leaning on their elbows, but the atmosphere is taut. Each man holds a small piece of bread in his hand. It is soft, fresh dough, the crumb moist and yielding. This bread is the ballot. The servant walks slowly. The men reach up. If a man accepts the candidate, if he looks at the young warrior and sees a brother, a shield mate, someone he would trust with his life in the shield wall, he drops the ball of bread into the bowl softly, without altering its shape. But if he objects, if he has seen a flicker of cowardice in the boy's eyes during the festival games, if he remembers a moment of hesitation on the training ground, if he simply feels that the chemistry of the mess would be disrupted by this new presence, then he does something subtle. He takes the soft dough between his thumb and forefinger. He squeezes. He crushes the bread into a flat, dense disc. The silence in the room is absolute. The only sound is the soft thump of the dough hitting the bottom of the bowl or piling upon the other ballots. Thump, thump, thump. When the servant has circled the entire room, the bowl is taken down. The elders gather around it. They do not count the votes. They do not look for a majority. They look for a single flaw. In Sparta, the consensus must be absolute. One flattened piece of bread. Just one. That is all it takes. If they find a single crushed ball among the round ones, the candidate is rejected. The bowl is overturned. The decision is final. Imagine the tension of that inspection, the smell of the yeast rising from the pile of dough, the white flour dusting the rough wood of the table. The verdict is binary, perfection or rejection. There is no middle ground. But today let us assume the bread is round. The bowl is shown to the room. A nod of approval ripples through the assembly. The doors open. The young man is beckoned in. He steps across the threshold, and for the first time in his life, he truly belongs. He takes his place on the wooden bench. He is no longer an aspiring warrior. He is a brick in the wall of the state. The daily rhythm of the Syssitia now becomes the rhythm of his life. Every evening, as the sun dips below the Taygetus and paints the sky in bruised purples and bloody oranges, he will come here. He will not eat at home with his wife. He will not feast in private. He will eat here with his unit, with his brothers. The furniture is austere. The benches are hard oak, polished smooth by the shifting weight of generations of soldiers. There are no cushions filled with goose down. There are no silver goblets. The cups are clay, simple and functional, firing a dull terracotta red in the light of the oil lamps, and then the meal is served. We must talk of the melosomos again, the black broth. In the mountains, it was survival fuel. Here, in the heart of the city, it is a political statement. The cauldron is brought out, heavy and black with soot. The steam that rises from it is thick and pungent. It hits the back of your throat with the sharp, acidic bite of vinegar. It smells of iron. It smells of the slaughterhouse and the salt cellar. A ladle is dipped in. The liquid is dark, almost opaque. It splashes into the wooden bowls with a heavy, viscous sound. It is not pretty. It does not glisten with delicate oils or smell of exotic spices from the east. There is no saffron here. There is no cinnamon. Those are the scents of weakness. Those are the scents of men who care more for their bellies than their swords. The Spartan takes his spoon. He eats. The taste is an assault. The vinegar makes the mouth water and the eyes sting. The pork is boiled until it is tough and stringy, requiring the jaw to work, to grind. The blood gives it a metallic depth, a richness that sits heavy in the stomach. But look around the room. Look at the man sitting at the head of the table. It might be one of the 2 kings of Sparta. He wears the same rough wool cloak. He sits on the same hard bench, and in his bowl, the exact same black sludge. The king does not have a private chef. He does not have a special cut of meat. If he wants to eat, he eats the broth. If he refuses, he goes hungry. This is the radical equality of the Syssitia, the rich man who owns vast olive groves and the poor man who owns only his plot of land sit elbow to elbow. Their gut biomes are the same. Their hunger is satisfied by the same fuel. The broth binds them physically. It runs through their veins, turning into the same muscle, the same blood. It is a communion more holy to them than any temple sacrifice. It says, "We are one body. We are one appetite. We are one will." As the meal concludes, the mood in the hall shifts. The hunger is abated. The wine is poured, watered down, of course, for drunkenness is a disgrace. The lamps flicker, casting long, dancing shadows against the rough plaster walls. Now is the time for talk. But do not imagine the raucous, shouting debates of the Athenian agora. Do not imagine the flowing, flowery rhetoric of the philosophers who love the sound of their own voices. This is Sparta. Here, language is a weapon. It is treated with the same discipline as a spear. You do not throw it away carelessly. You aim it. You drive it home. This is the Laconian way of speech. Listen to the silence in the room. It is not an empty silence. It is a thoughtful, heavy presence. The men are digesting not just their food, but their thoughts. When a man speaks, he does not raise his voice. He leans forward. He waits for the attention of the table. He distills his thought down to its absolute essence. He strips away the adjectives. He cuts out the adverbs. He removes the preamble and the apology and the justification. He leaves only the verb and the noun. He leaves only the truth. The words drop into the silence like stones into a deep well. Plunk. The Persians demand earth and water, a young man might say, his voice low. An elder, scarred and grey, might take a sip of his wine. He might let the silence stretch for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, until the tension is palpable. He might look at the flame of the lamp. Finally, he might reply with a single word. Dig. the meaning is vast. It implies defiance. It implies a grave. It implies a trap. It implies that the Persians will find there earth and water only when they are buried beneath it. All of that complex geopolitical strategy is compressed into one syllable. This is the art of the apophthegm. It is a style of humour and wisdom that is dry, sharp, and biting. It requires a quick mind to understand. If you have to explain the joke, you are a fool. If you have to use 10 words when 3 would do, you are a wastrel. The silence between the words is where the bonding happens. In those long pauses, the men look at each other. They read the micro-expressions on their comrades' faces. They learn to communicate without sound. A raised eyebrow, a tightening of the jaw, a shift in posture. This economy of language trains the mind for war. On the battlefield, amidst the screaming and the crashing of bronze, there is no time for speeches. There is no time for debate. Orders must be short. Reports must be instant. Advance, hold, kill. The Laconian speech is the software that runs the Spartan hardware. It creates a mind that is uncluttered, focused, and decisive. The evening wears on. The wine jars are empty. The fire in the hearth has burned down to glowing red embers, pulsating like a dying heart. The men rise. There is no stumbling. There is no slurring. They are as sharp now as they were at dawn. They walk out into the cool night air of the valley. Above them, the constellations of the Heraclidae burn in the velvet black. They walk home without torches. This is the final rule of the mess. You must find your way in the dark. You must know the path so well that your feet can find it without your eyes. The man who was once a boy in the reeds walks confidently through the shadows. His belly is full of the black broth. His mind is sharpened by the razor wit of his elders. He is part of the brotherhood of the mess. He is a Spartan. And as he sleeps tonight, he will not dream of soft things. He will dream of the wall of shields and the silence before the storm. The crown of Sparta is not a circle of hammered gold set with rubies. It is not a delicate wreath of laurels that withers in the autumn wind. The crown of Sparta is a weight. It is a heavy, invisible yoke that settles upon the neck, grinding the vertebrae, demanding that the head remains high even when the burden threatens to snap the spine. The year is 490 BC, or perhaps close to it. The timeline of men is messy, but the timeline of fate is precise. The old king, Cleomenes, is dead. His end was not the glorious death of the battlefield, surrounded by the singing of spears. It was a dark, twisted end, a descent into madness and blood within the prison of his own mind. The shadow of that death hangs over the city like a thunderhead that refuses to break. And now the valley looks to a new master. Leonidas did not ask for this. He was the third son. He was the spare, the shadow, the soldier who walked in the wake of his brothers. For 40 years he has lived the life of a peer. He has slept on the reeds. He has eaten the shur, black broth. He has marched in the dust of the rank and file. He was not raised in the soft isolation of the heir apparent. He was forged in the common fire of the agoge. Look at him now, standing in the centre of the royal house. He is a man in the full, hard autumn of his life. His hair is streaked with the grey of iron filings. His face is a landscape of deep lines, carved by the sun and the scowl of command. He is not a youth full of bright, naive promise. He is a weapon that has been used, honed, and used again. He looks at the seat of power. It is a simple wooden chair. It is not a throne of ivory, but to sit in it is to accept a sentence. He touches the armrest. The wood is cool, polished by the sweat of the men who came before him. He realizes, with a slow, sinking feeling in his gut, that the anonymity he cherished is gone. The brotherhood of the shield wall, where every man is equal, is over for him. He must now stand alone. He must step out of the phalanx and become the point of the spear. But a king in Sparta is not merely a general. He is not just a man who points a sword and shouts orders. He is a bridge. He is the terrifying, fragile link between the dust of the earth and the fire of Olympus. Walk with him in the pre-dawn darkness. The city is asleep, but the king cannot sleep. He must wake the gods. He walks to the sanctuary of Zeus Lacedaemon. This is not the Zeus of the clouds, the philandering god of the poets. This is the Zeus of the Spartans. He is dark. He is stern. He holds a spear, not a lightning bolt. The temple is small, cramped, and smells intensely of old smoke and dried blood. Leonidas enters the holy space. The air is thick, almost oily. It clings to the skin. The only light comes from the brazier, where the coals are forever glowing, casting a red, demonic light on the statue's face. He is here to perform the sacrifice. This is his primary duty. Before a war can be declared, before an army can march, before a law can be passed, the king must kneel. Watch his hands. They are the hands of a killer, broad and scarred, but now they move with the delicate precision of a surgeon. He takes the knife. The blade is obsidian, sharp enough to split a hair. He approaches the animal, a goat with fleece as white as the mountain snow. The animal is calm. It does not bleat. In the heavy silence of the temple, the only sound is the crackle of the fire and the heavy breathing of the king. He strokes the animal's neck. He whispers a prayer, not in the flowing Greek of Athens, but in the guttural, rhythmic dialect of Laconia. He asks for nothing for himself. He does not ask for long life or riches. He asks for strength. He asks for the favor of the wolf god. The knife moves. It is a quick, singular motion. The smell of copper fills the room instantly. It is a hot, metallic scent that mixes with the incense. The blood flows into the silver bowl. Leonidas dips his fingers into the warm crimson fluid. He is reading the will of the heavens in the visceral heat of the earth. He looks at the way the blood swirls. Is it bright? Is it dark? Does it clot too quickly? At this moment he is more than a man. He is a vessel. He feels the gaze of Zeus pressing down on his shoulders, a physical weight that makes his knees tremble. He is responsible for the souls of his people. If he fails here, in the dark with the knife, the phalanx will crumble in the field. The burden of the priest is heavier than the shield of the warrior. He wipes his hands on a rough cloth. The sun is rising. He steps out of the temple, the scent of the sacrifice clinging to his hair and his clothes. He is the anointed one. He carries the smell of death so that his people may live. But his day is not done. He must leave the house of God and enter the house of men. He must face the ephors. The ephors are the overseers. They are 5 men, elected annually, who have the power to judge even the king. They are the watchdogs of the state, old men with eyes like flint, who sit in the Ephoreion, a simple administrative building in the agora. The room is stiflingly hot. The shutters are closed to keep out the glare of the noon sun, creating a dim, dusty twilight. Dust motes dance in the single beam of light that cuts through the room. The air buzzes with the sound of flies, a lazy, irritating drone that underscores the tension. Leonidas enters. He is still wearing his armour. He always wears his armour. The bronze breastplate gleams dull in the shadows. He does not bow. A Spartan king does not bow to men, but he does not sit until they acknowledge him. It is a subtle, dangerous dance of power. The ephors sit on their bench. They are wrapped in plain cloaks. They look frail compared to the bulk of the king, but their power is absolute. They watch the stars for signs of his corruption. They can arrest him. They can depose him. They begin to speak. They talk of grain supplies. They talk of a border dispute with Argos. They talk of rumours. From the east, whispers of a great king in Persia who is gathering a storm of men. Leonidas listens. He stands with his arms folded across his chest, his face a mask of stone. He does not interrupt. He does not offer excuses. He uses the weapon of silence. When he finally speaks, his voice is a low rumble like distant thunder trapped in a valley. He does not use flowery rhetoric. He does not try to charm them. The grain is sufficient, he says. Argos is quiet, he says. Let the Persian come. His words are heavy stones dropped into a pond. They create ripples that silence the petty bickering of the politicians. This is the gravity of the soldier king. He does not need to argue, because his very existence is the argument. He is the man who will stand in the front line. He is the man who will bleed first. The ephors look at him. They see the scars on his arms. They smell the faint, lingering scent of the sacrifice on his skin. They feel the immense, contained violence that radiates from him like heat from a furnace. And they are quieted. In the dusty silence of the room, the power dynamic shifts. The old men with their laws and their star charts fade into the background. The room is filled by the presence of the king. He is the jewel crown. He is the priest who holds the knife, and the general who holds the spear. He is the terrifying necessity of the state. Leonidas turns and leaves the room. His sandals slap against the stone floor. He walks out into the blinding light of Sparta, carrying the weight of the crown, the weight of the god, and the weight of the coming war. He is alone in the crowd, a solitary pillar holding up the sky. To understand the heart of Sparta, you must look away from the blood-stained altars and the dust of the training grounds. You must look away from the iron tips of the spears and the cold eyes of the ephors. You must look, instead, into the eyes of a woman. We are entering the private quarters of the royal house now. The air here is different. It does not smell of sweat and oxidized bronze. It smells of dried lavender, of polished cedar wood, and of a subtle, intelligent stillness. This is the domain of Gorgo. She is the daughter of a king, the wife of a king, and the mother of a future king. In any other city in the Greek world, in the high-minded democracy of Athens, or the merchant citadels of Corinth, a woman of her station would be a prisoner. She would be locked away in the gynoeceum, hidden from the eyes of men, weaving endlessly in the shadows, her voice never rising above a whisper, her mind left to wither like a plant deprived of the sun. But this is not Athens. This is the Valley of the Free. Look at her as she enters the room. She does not shuffle with small, minced steps. She walks with a long, confident stride. Her feet are bare on the cool stone floor, her connection to the earth just as solid as her husband's. Her peplos is simple, a column of white wool pinned at the shoulders, falling in, heavy, graceful folds that hint at the strength of the body beneath. She wears no veil. Her face is open to the world. Study that face. It is not the soft, pampered face of a porcelain doll. It is a face of striking architectural beauty. Her jawline is defined, a testament to the Laconian blood. Her eyes are dark, observant, and terrifyingly direct. When she looks at you, she does not look down in modesty. She looks through you. She assesses your worth. She weighs your soul on the scales of her judgment. There is a silence that surrounds her, but it is not the silence of submission. It is the silence of a predator who knows her power. She is the only person in the world who can look Leonidas in the eye and not blink. She is the only person who can challenge the Lion of Sparta and win. There is a story, whispered through the marketplaces of the world, of a foreigner who once asked her, with a sneer of derision, why Spartan women were the only women in Greece who ruled over their men. Imagine her reaction. She did not blush. She did not look away. She surely paused, letting the silence stretch until the man became uncomfortable, until he shifted his weight and regretted his words. And then, with a voice as calm and cool as river water, she replied, "Because we are the only women who give birth to men." That is Gorgo. She is the anchor. She is the intellect that matches the brute force of the state. She is the partner. In this marriage there is no master and servant. There are two pillars supporting the roof of the house. Come with me now into the garden behind the house. The sun is setting, casting long golden rays through the branches of the ancient olive trees. The air is cooling, bringing relief from the heat of the day. The cicadas are beginning their evening chorus, a rhythmic, buzzing thrum that vibrates in the air. Leonidas and Gorgo are walking here. They are not touching. Public displays of affection are not the Spartan way, even in the semi-privacy of the garden. But the connection between them is palpable. It is in the way they match each other's pace. It is in the way their bodies angle toward one another. They are talking. Lean in close. Listen to the low murmur of their voices. They are not discussing the price of grain or the gossip of the neighbors. They are discussing the fate of the world. A messenger has arrived from across the sea, bringing a tablet covered in wax. To the ephors, to the generals, the tablet was blank. It appeared to be nothing more than a meaningless slab of wood, a mistake or a taunt. They stared at the smooth yellow surface of the wax and saw nothing. They were men of war, used to direct threats, not riddles. But Gorgo saw what they could not. Watch her in your mind's eye. She stands by the stone bench, the tablet in her hands. She runs her fingertips over the wax. She smells it. She senses the weight of the wood. Her mind, sharp and agile, leaps over the obvious. "Scrape it," she whispers to her husband. The message is not on the wax. It is beneath it. She saw the truth that was hidden. She understood that to hide a secret, one must sometimes cover it with nothingness. And so, because of her, the wax was scraped away, revealing the wood underneath, and the warning carved into the grain. The warning of the storm gathering in the east. The warning of Xerxes. Here in the garden, under the silver-green canopy of the olives, they discuss this storm. The leaves rustle above them, whispering shh, shh in the breeze. Leonidas does not shield her from the horror of what is coming. He does not treat her like a child who must be protected from bad news. He lays the reality of the war before her like a map. He tells her of the numbers. He tells her of the likelihood of death. He tells her that the wall of chests may finally be breached. She listens. She does not weep. She does not cling to his arm and beg him to stay. She absorbs the information with the stoic calm of a general. She nods. Her mind is already moving ahead, calculating the cost, planning the contingency. She knows that she is not just a wife losing a husband. She is a queen who may soon have to lead a city of widows. The intimacy of this moment is profound. It is an intellectual intimacy. It is the meeting of two minds that have been honed by the same harsh laws. They stand together in the fading light, the scent of crushed time rising from under their sandals, united by a grim and terrible purpose. She is his counselor. She is his conscience. She is the steel in his spine. And then there is the boy, Pleistarchus. He is young, perhaps no more than a toddler, playing in the dirt at the edge of the olive grove. He is the heir. He is the future. Watch him. He holds a stick in his small hand, swinging it with clumsy, serious intent at the tall stalks of lavender. He is a miniature reflection of his father. He has the same brow, the same set of the jaw. Gorgo calls him. Her voice softens, but only slightly. It loses the hard edge of command, but it retains the depth of authority. The boy runs to them. He does not jump into his father's arms. He stops before them, looking up. Leonidas looks down at his son. This is the only softness allowed to him, to touch the boy's hair, to rest a heavy hand on the small shoulder. The contrast is heartbreaking. The hand that kills, the hand that holds the spear, now rests with infinite gentleness on the future of his line. Gorgo watches them. She knows the stakes better than anyone. This boy is not just her son. He is the Agiad. If Leonidas falls, the weight of the crown will descend upon this small head. She is raising him for this. She does not coddle him. When he scrapes his knee, she cleans the wound with efficiency, telling him that pain is a lesson. When he cries, she tells him that tears are water that should be saved for the drought. She is teaching him to be a king. She kneels in the dirt beside him. She takes the stick from his burned hand and replaces it with a small wooden sword. She adjusts his grip. Her hands are warm, capable, and strong. She shows him how to stand. She shows him how to guard his heart. "This is your wall," she whispers to him, tapping his small chest. "This is where the city lives." Leonidas watches his wife teaching his son. The shadows of the olive trees lengthen until they swallow the garden in twilight. He knows that soon he will leave this sanctuary. He knows that the time for quiet talks in the garden is ending. But looking at Gorgo, looking at the straight back and the fierce, intelligent eyes of the woman who shares his throne, he knows that he leaves his house in hands of iron. He knows that if he does not return, the memory of him and the spirit of Sparta will not die. She will keep the flame burning. She will raise the wolf. She is the queen of wisdom, and she is the true fortress of the valley. Close your eyes. Let the dry, dusty air of the Eurotas valley fill your lungs. Breathe in the scent of sun-baked clay and crushed pine needles. But wait, there is something else in the air today. Underneath the familiar smell of resin and sweat, there is a new thread weaving through the wind. It is sweet. It is cloying. It smells of cinnamon, of heavy rose oil, of musk and sandalwood. It is the scent of a world that is not this one. It is the perfume of the East. The storm we have whispered about is no longer a rumour on the horizon. It has arrived at the gates. Imagine the agora of Sparta under the glare of the midday sun. The light is harsh, bleaching the colour from the limestone buildings, turning the world into a canvas of blinding white and deep, sharp shadow. Into this monochrome world walk the messengers of the great king. They are a riot of colour that hurts the Spartan eye. Their robes are dyed in purples and crimsons that cost a king's ransom, embroidered with gold thread that glitters like fire. Their beards are oiled and curled. Their skin is soft, pampered by shade and unguents. They move with a fluid, arrogant grace like dancers, or perhaps like snakes. They stand before the ephors. They stand before Leonidas. The contrast is visceral. On one side, the rough grey wool of the cloak and the weathered, scarred skin of the warrior. On the other, the silk and the gold. Iron against velvet, stone against water. The envoys smile. It is a thin, practised smile that does not reach their eyes. They speak with smooth, cultured voices, wrapping their threats in the language of diplomacy. They have come from Xerxes, the king of kings, the man who whips the sea and bridges the Hellespont. And their demand is simple. It is elemental. Earth, they say, their hands making a graceful gesture toward the ground. And water. The words hang in the hot, still air. It sounds like a small thing, a token, a jar of river water and a basket of soil. But the Spartans standing in the circle know the weight of those words. To give earth and water is to surrender the very substance of your existence. It is to acknowledge that the ground you stand on and the water that cools your thirst belong to another man. It is to erase yourself. Leonidas watches them. His face is a mask of bronze. He does not shout. He does not rage. He simply listens to the silence that stretches out after their demand. It is a heavy silence, a vacuum that sucks the air out of the square. He looks at the envoys and he sees not men but insults to the natural order. They are soft things demanding the submission of the hard. The reaction, when it comes, is not a debate. It is a spasm of the city's immune system rejecting a virus. The envoys are surrounded. There is no pomp, no ceremony. Rough hands, calloused by the spear shaft, grab the delicate silk of their robes. The fabric tears with a sound like a shriek. The gold chains snap. The polite smiles vanish, replaced by wide-eyed terror as they realize that their diplomatic immunity means nothing here. This is not Athens. This is not a place where words hold sway over deeds. They are dragged to the edge of the great well. Peer into the darkness of that shaft. It goes down deep into the bedrock, cool and damp, smelling of wet moss and the deep, secret veins of the earth. The water glimmers faintly, far below, a black mirror. Leonidas steps forward. He looks at the trembling men. His voice is not loud, but it carries the vibration of a rock slide. "You want earth?" he asks. "You want water?" With a shove, the first envoy is sent over the edge, then the second. The sound of their bodies hitting the water is a dull, heavy splash that echoes up the stone throat of the well. Then there is silence again. The ripples settle. The birds resume their song in the olive trees. "Dig it out yourselves," Leonidas whispers to the darkness below. It is a moment of brutal, terrifying finality. The bridge has been burned. The insult has been returned with blood. But as the adrenaline fades, a cold realization settles in the king's gut. The envoys were just the first drops of rain. The deluge is coming, and to face a god-king, one must consult the gods. We leave the heat of the valley now. We must climb. The journey to Delphi is a pilgrimage from the world of men to the world of spirits. The road winds north up into the jagged spine of the mountains. The air grows thin and cold. The vegetation changes from the silver green of the olive groves to the dark, brooding green of the fir forests. Leonidas walks. He does not ride. The stones of the path are sharp beneath his sandals, a constant reminder of his mortality. The wind here howls through the crags, sounding like the voices of the dead lamenting their fate. This is Parnassus, the mountain that touches the sky. It feels ancient. It feels indifferent to human suffering. As he approaches the sanctuary, the atmosphere shifts. The light seems to change quality, becoming sharper, more translucent. And then there is the smell. It is the smell of the underworld. Faint wisps of vapour curl from fissures in the rock. They smell of sulphur, of rotten eggs, of sweet, decaying flowers. It is a nauseating, intoxicating scent that makes the head swim. This is the breath of the python, the great beast slain by Apollo, rotting beneath the foundations of the earth. The temple of Apollo rises from the mist. It is a masterpiece of marble, gleaming against the grey cliffs. But Leonidas does not stop to admire the friezes or the statues. He is here for the voice. He enters the temple. He leaves his spear at the door. He washes his hands in the Castalian spring, the water so cold it burns like fire. He is purified. He is ready. Inside, the shadows are deep. The only light comes from the flickering oil lamps and the glowing coals of the brazier. The air is thick with the smoke of burning laurel leaves and barley. It creates a haze that blurs the edges of reality. He descends into the adyton, the sunken inner sanctum. There she sits, the Pythia, the mouthpiece of the god. She is perched on a high bronze tripod positioned directly over a chasm in the floor. The vapours rise around her, wrapping her in a veil of white smoke. She is not herself. Her eyes are rolled back in her head, showing only the whites. Her body jerks and spasms as if she is a puppet on strings pulled by invisible hands. She is chewing on the sacred laurel, green foam flecking her lips. She is vibrating with the energy of the god. It is a terrifying sight. She is a woman, yet she is containing a force that could shatter a mountain. The priests, the propheti, stand nearby with their tablets, ready to interpret the sounds that will tear from her throat. Leonidas stands before her. He feels small. The power of the king of Sparta means nothing here. Here, he is just a man asking to know the manner of his death. He asks his question, will Sparta survive? The Pythia shudders. A low moan builds in her chest, rising in pitch until it becomes a shriek that raises the hair on Leonidas's arms. Then the words come. They are fractured, guttural, spoken in a voice that sounds like grinding stones. Hear me, you who dwell in the wide dancing grounds of Lacedaemon. The priests scratch furiously on their wax tablets. Either your great and glorious city must be wasted by Persian men. The silence that follows is agonizing. Leonidas sees the image in his mind. The flames licking the roof of the royal house, the walls of chests broken, the women in chains. Or, the voice rasps, the bound of Lacedaemon must mourn a dead king from the line of Heracles. The prophecy hangs in the smoke-filled room. It is a balance scale. On one side, the city, on the other, the king. There is no third option. There is no clever riddle to solve. The equation is brutal and mathematical. One must die so the other may live. Watch the face of Leonidas in the gloom. You might expect fear. You might expect the frantic bargaining of a man trying to save his own skin. But look closer. The tension that has held him rigid for months, the anxiety of the unknown, suddenly evaporates. His shoulders drop. A long, slow breath escapes his lips. It is acceptance. For a Spartan, the greatest fear is not death. The greatest fear is a useless death. To die of old age in a bed, his body failing him, his mind wandering, that is the terror. But this is a transaction. This is a purchase. He realizes that his life is a coin, a single heavy gold coin, and now the gods have told him exactly what he can buy with it. He can buy the survival of his people. He can buy the immortality of his city. A strange, deep peace settles over him. It is the calm of the dead. He looks at the convulsing woman on the tripod, but he no longer sees a monster. He sees a messenger who has brought him a gift. He knows what he must do. He does not need to send an army to win a war. He needs to take a few good men, and he needs to go to a narrow place, and he needs to spend his coin. He bows his head, not in submission, but in gratitude. He turns and walks out of the smoky sanctuary, out of the cave, and back into the clean, cold air of the mountain. The sun is shining. The world looks bright and sharp. He begins the long walk back to the Valley of Silence, a man who is already a ghost, walking with a light and steady step toward his grave. The sun hangs low over the Eurotas, a pale, unblinking eye staring down at the city of the hollow. The air is still heavy with the heat of late summer, but there is a chill running through the veins of the men standing in the agora that has nothing to do with the temperature. It is the chill of finality. We are witnessing the culling. Leonidas stands at the center of the gathering. He is not wearing his crown today. He is wearing the full panoply of war. The bronze greaves, shaped to the muscle of his calves, gleam dully. The breastplate, sculpted to mimic the ideal male torso, fits him like a second skin of gold and copper. But it is his eyes that command attention. They are scanning the ranks of the hippies, the elite royal guard, the 300 chosen men. But today, skill with the spear is not enough. The strength of the arm is not enough. Today the king is asking a different question. He is looking for a specific qualification, one that is written not in scars but in bloodlines. Do you have a son? The question ripples through the ranks. It is spoken in low tones, a murmur that travels from man to man. Leonidas walks down the line. He stops before a young warrior, a man whose beard is still dark and thick, whose eyes burn with the desperate desire for glory. This man is strong, he is fast, he is lethal. "I will go," the young man whispers, his knuckles white on the rim of his shield. Leonidas shakes his head slowly. "You have no heir. Your house stands on a single pillar. If you fall, your name falls with you. Step back." The rejection is a physical blow. The young man's shoulders slump. be left behind is a shame, but to be spared is a necessity. Sparta cannot spend its future, it can only spend its past. The king moves on. He stops before an older man, a veteran whose face is a map of old campaigns, skin leathery and pockmarked. "And you, Dienicus?" "A son, my king," the man replies. "He is 6 years old. He is already stealing grapes from the vine." Leonidas nods. "Then you are chosen. Prepare your spirit." This is the grim arithmetic of the mission. Only those who have secured their immortality through their children are permitted to die. These 300 men are not just soldiers, they are fathers who have fulfilled their biological duty. They have replaced themselves. They are now expendable currency in the economy of war. Look at them. They are the walking dead. They know it. There is no delusion here, no false hope of a glorious return. The prophecy of the Pythoness rings in their ears. A king must die, and a king does not die alone. He takes his wolf pack with him. There is a strange, heavy quiet among them. They are not cheering. They are not clashing their spears against their shields. They are oiling their hair. This is a ritual that confuses outsiders. Before a battle, a Spartan does not pray frantically or weep. He sits. He takes out a comb. He rubs rich, scented oil into his long locks. He braids his hair with meticulous care. It is an act of supreme vanity that masks an act of supreme discipline. They are preparing their bodies for the grave. They are making themselves beautiful for death, so that when they lie on the battlefield, the enemy will see not savages, but statues of perfection. The smell of the oil, olive mixed with rosemary, drifts through the square, a sweet domestic scent masking the metallic tang of the armour. Now the scene shifts. The public selection is over. The private farewell begins. Leonidas stands in the central room of his home. The shadows are long. The dust motes dance in the shafts of light. Gorgo is there. She is not weeping. We have spoken of her strength before, but now you must see it in motion. She holds his shield. It is a massive thing, a circle of bronze and wood and leather, heavy enough to crush a man's chest. It is the most important object in a Spartan's life. It is the tool that protects the man to his left. It is the wall. She lifts it. Her arms are strong, but the weight strains her muscles. She presents it to him. This is the moment of severance. In other lands, a wife might cling to her husband's neck. She might beg him to be careful. She might whisper, "Come back to me." Gorgo looks him in the eye. Her gaze is dry and fierce. She loves him, and because she loves him, she demands that he be what he is. She does not ask for his safety. She asks for his honor. She hands him the shield. As his fingers close around the grip, locking his arm into the leather sleeve, she speaks the words that will echo for eternity. "With this," she whispers, touching the bronze rim, "or on this. Etan e epitas." The brevity of it is breathtaking. It is a complete philosophy of life and death compressed into 5 words. Come back with your shield. That means you stood your ground. That means you did not drop your protection to run faster. That means you were part of the wall until the end. Or come back on your shield. That means you are dead, carried home by your brothers, your body borne on the very surface that protected them. There is no third option. There is no room for the man who drops his shield and survives. That man is a ghost. That man is dead to her, dead to the city, dead to himself. Leonidas looks at her. He understands the love inside the command. He nods. He does not kiss her. The metal of his helmet prevents it, and the moment is too sharp for softness. He turns. The bronze of his armour scrapes against the doorframe. He walks out of the house, leaving behind the woman who is the other half of his soul. He does not look back. To look back is to hesitate, and he is a stone rolling downhill now. He joins his men at the edge of the city. There are no walls to open, no gates to unbar. There is only the road stretching north, a ribbon of pale dust winding toward the mountains. The 300 fall into formation. They are wrapped in their cloaks. Look at the colour. It is not a dull, rusty red. It is crimson. It is scarlet. It is the colour of fresh arterial blood. This is the phonikis, the war cloak. It is chosen for a psychological purpose. When a Spartan bleeds, the cloak absorbs the stain. The enemy never sees the wound. They never see the weakness. They see only an unbroken line of red, a monster that cannot be hurt. The signal is given, not a shout, but a sound. The Aulos begins to play. It is a high nasal drone, a piercing note that cuts through the morning air. The piper walks at the front, setting the cadence. This is not a march of chaotic passion. It is a dance. Thud, thud, thud. 300 left feet strike the earth at the exact same instant. The ground vibrates. It is a low-frequency tremor that you can feel in the soles of your feet, even if you are standing a mile away. It is the heartbeat of the beast. They begin to move. The phalanx is a fluid thing, a river of bronze and red flowing over the land. They do not walk with the hurried, nervous energy of men going to their death. They walk with a terrifying, rhythmic slowness. They are in no rush. Death is waiting for them, and they will meet it on their own time. Passers-by on the road stop and stare. Farmers in the fields drop their tools. They watch the red line snake its way past the olive groves, past the shrines, past the tombs of the ancestors. They know what they are seeing. They are seeing the funeral procession of the king. Leonidas walks at the head. He does not look at the mountains of the Taygetus, the peaks he climbed as a boy. He does not look at the river where he cut the reeds. He keeps his eyes fixed on the horizon, on the north, on the narrow pass of Thermopylae. The sound of the flute grows fainter. The rhythmic thud of the feet becomes a distant pulse like the heartbeat of the earth itself. The mist begins to rise from the river, swirling around their ankles, then their knees. Slowly, inexorably, the valley of Eurotas reclaims its sons. The red cloaks blur into the grey fog. The glint of the spear points is the last thing to vanish, like stars winking out one by one at dawn. They are gone. The valley is silent again. The wind rustles the leaves. The sun continues its climb. But the emptiness they leave behind is vast. They have marched out of history and into myth. They have become the red ghosts of the north, and the world will never see their like again. And so, the final shield is lowered, and the echoes of the 300 fade into the silence of the library. The book is closed. The history is written. You have journeyed far, but now you are back in the warmth, safe by the dying fire. There are no battles left for you to fight tonight. If you found peace here and wish to return to our shelves another night, consider staying with us by subscribing. But now the candles are burning low. Let go, drift away. Sleep now, deeply, safely. Good night.